So in this video, we're going to be going over the fourth part of configuring new projects in Android Studio. So to get to the next screen, we're going to just go ahead and click on blank activity, and then we're going to click on next. So that just means that we don't want anything fancy, right? So we're going to click next, and now we're going to be met with this screen here. So let me go over what each one of these options mean. So activity name essentially is the name. Well, we haven't really gone over what activities are yet, but that's kind of the base component for Android. Essentially, we name what that is in our code. So this is essentially the identifier for the base activity of our application. So we can modify this activity name to suit our application better. You know, if we have a transportation activity, or rather a transportation application, we might call this main transportation activity. I find it's usually just best to leave it at main activity. Makes sense to me, but I wanted you to at least know what you're doing when you modify that. So layout name. A layout, or for every activity, we have a layout that goes along with it, or I should say for almost every activity in Android. So this is how the typical naming conventions of our layouts go. It is usually underscored. So when we have a space, it's an underscore. We have activity underscore main. We could certainly, using that transportation example, we could say, you know, transportation underscore activity underscore main, right? So that would be changing or modifying the name of our layout associated with our main activity. Our title. So our title is the title that's going to be used for our layout file. So usually when you're creating a new application, there will be a title on the layout at the very top. If you have an action bar, that's like this little green thing here, it will say main activity. We could certainly change that using our transportation example to, you know, transportation application, and it would say that out the top left, right? So that's just going to be, as it says, the title of our application. Our menu resource name, when we have a main activity or a particular kind of activity, we have a layout file for the menu of that activity. And that's just naming that particular file. So if you have something that makes a little bit more sense, you can change that here. Once again, you'll notice that our layout, the naming convention for that is underscores where spaces should be. For our activities, we usually do a camel case notation here. So I just wanted to break that down. Our use a fragment, essentially, we're going to go over fragments later on. I don't want to confuse you too much. Essentially, this checkbox will allow us to use a fragment, which is another kind of base component for Android, which we'll go over. As of right now, though, you can just kind of leave that unchecked. Actually, I would probably check that. Most things, I think, use a fragment these days. So once again, we're going to go over that later. Don't worry too much about that option. Once this is all completed and now you know what each one of these things do, you can go ahead and click Finish, and then you'll notice that Android goes ahead and compiles all that stuff for you. And if we click on Projects and open this up, we are going to have all of those things that we talked about. So you'll see we have activity main, we have that fragment that I told you to create, and then we have that main activity here that we named once again. And you'll see that we also have the menu here. And we're going to go over all of this file structure later on, so don't freak out and, you know, get scared looking at this right now. So we have successfully just gone over all four parts of creating our Android projects. I hope you guys understand what each one of those screens means now. I will see you in the next video.